Every nation works for its national interest. Every nation's primordial component is its national interest. And anything that would hurt a country's national interest, they would react to that one. The United States has done far away somewhere in West Asia, just next to Russia. And Russia is not a normal power. It's been a power to reckon with in the past, and it is the only power, perhaps, greater than China that the United States fears, even today, when it comes to the question. Right? They may have drastically gone down economically and all those things, but still they have someone who plays a psychological war in the form of Vladimir Putin. Gross violation of what it has accepted for a very, very long time, that it will keep its sphere of influence to where it has been, so it will not come until the borders of Russia. So now for them coming till Ukraine or trying to help out Ukraine and trying to do anything like that would go against the national interest of Russia. And Russia has very clearly said, a country the way it's been projected, using the English language, propaganda. Lot of things have happened to make it to look like Ukraine is a very simple country, a very, very naive and an innocent country that has no geopolitical significance or has no animosities with anyone. And then there is a dictator here who's apparently trying to destroy them and who's trying to finish them off and who's an aggressor. This is the type of language that's been used. More than 14,000 people have been killed. And those of them who were sympathizers of Russia have been targeted and killed by the Ukrainian forces. Because there are two republics, Narendra Modi as a very matured leader, Narendra Modi as someone who can still pull off something like this. So I see a different role, unlike others where we may find it difficult and then we may take side. That's not going to happen. But I rather see the other side, where India may end up having a word, or Indian Prime Minister may end up having word with Putin and say, brother, stop this. I think you have done what you are expected to, and you have achieved your strategic objectives that you wanted to. Give them peace, allow them to rest now. That's what he may say, and that might be a possibility. That's where I see India.
Good morning, viewers. We have been seeing over the last week what's happening in Ukraine, and everyone seems to be having their own opinion. Some say Russia is right, some say the US and NATO are right, and some say if not controlled and if more countries get involved, this could escalate into a world war. Now, to quickly answer these questions and to clear the cobwebs, we are very fortunate to have Dr. Nanda Kishor. He is the Associate Professor, Department of Politics and International Studies in Pondicherry University. He is a foreign policy expert and a security analyst, and he has also written for our Some Other World book. Thank you, Dr. Nanda Kishor, for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah. So we'll directly get to the point, Dr. Nanda Kishor. And in order to, for the benefit of our viewers, what does Putin exactly want? And, didn't he have any other way? And under what conditions would, Russia end the war? Dr. Nanda Kishor.
Okay. That's a very interesting question. I think as political scientists or IR scholars, the whole of the IR discipline actually started with this question: what do leaders want from international system? That's one. And then second question: why do leaders do what they do? These are the questions that are pertinent, and that's how realism came into picture, neo-realism came into picture, all those theories that we are trying to look at. I think we are back to square one, like the 20th century, just before how the First World War ended, and then this whole process started. I think we are back to square one. That's what I'm trying to say here. Now, coming to the specific question that you asked, what Putin is expecting from here is very simple. Now, Ukraine is not as simple a country the way it's been projected. Using the English language, propaganda, lot of things have happened to make it to look like Ukraine is a very simple country, a very, very naive and an innocent country that has no geopolitical significance or has no animosities with anyone. And then there is a dictator here who's apparently trying to destroy them and who's trying to finish them off and who's an aggressor. This is the type of language that's been used. Going back to a bit of history, we need to understand that both of them, from time immemorial, come under the same influence. They were an empire, and a lot of these things are common. It's like the way how at a later stage in the 20th century, how a state called Pakistan, a state called Bangladesh has been carved out. It's in the same way, after a long time, there is a common ethnic background, and then subsequently smaller states have come into picture. Like the way we are seeing at one point of time, probably somebody would say with regard to India, we had a Madhya Desha. Somebody would say we had another Desha. They would call that itself as Desha. They would call themselves as sovereign, independent. It's like that. So here also something like that has happened. Now coming quickly to the 20th century, how the Berlin was created, how the whole of Europe itself decided to do something that was supported by the United States with the creation of NATO in 1949, and a bloc that was led. The other one, which was led by the Soviet Union, that was by Joseph Stalin. This is the background. Now, subsequently, in a period of time, we saw how in the 1990s things started changing, and we also saw the collapse of the Soviet Union. But the understanding here was the instability that was there and a brief period of unipolarity that was there with regard to the United States being the superpower. The Russians were no way less nuclear power and had enough of what they were supposed to and everything. But the understanding, or some sort of an understanding that had come in, is that anything that would obstruct or anything that would put down the interest of Russia would not be pursued by any of the Western powers. This was the thought that was put across, right? Your sphere of influence, whatever the NATO that you have had. Now, no more sort of an expansion, no more sort of bringing in, and anything that would go against the interest of the Russians. Now, we need to understand in international relations, every nation works for its national interest. Every nation's primordial component is its national interest. And anything that would hurt a country's national interest, they would react to that one. The United States has done far away somewhere in West Asia, or what we call as the Middle East, when it saw that it was against its interest. Point of reference is Iran. Okay, like that, there have been numerous places where most of these countries have got involved. It also includes China, it also includes many others. Invariably, they have done in the past, and they continue to do even today. The history is not too far when it comes to question of Iraq, when it comes to question of Libya, when it comes to question of Syria, when it also comes to several other smaller nations that have been destroyed over a period of time in the name of national interest again, because everybody claims that one. Now, here is a classic case where we are seeing something that is just next to Russia, and Russia is not a normal power. It's been a power to reckon with in the past, and it is the only power, perhaps, greater than China that the United States fears, even today, when it comes to the question. Right? They may have drastically gone down economically and all those things, but still they have someone who plays a psychological war in the form of Vladimir Putin. Now, Putin being a KGB guy, someone who has led Russia for a very, very long time. We have also seen, because I teach political psychology, while trying to analyze or doing psychoanalysis, one can easily understand he is not a simple leader to deal with. So many American presidents have tried playing with him, none of them have succeeded. Since 1999, this individual is so powerful. The constitution says so and so is powerful by its character. But since Putin has taken over, to whatever office he moves, if he moves to the office of the president becomes powerful. The office of the prime minister, when he moves in, the office of the prime minister becomes powerful. Now, that's been the character of this individual called Vladimir Putin. Now, for him, his country's interest is primordial, and this was brewing for a long time because there are a lot of German origin people. There are also Russian origin people who are in Ukraine and who have been supporting Russia for a long time. And they all had gone down because of the collapse of the Soviet Union. They did not imagine that a superpower would collapse like this, and they had kept quiet. But over a period of time, now they see that the Russia is not the same Russia of the 1990s. Now Russia is a new nation that has come in, and it has got a very, very stable leadership under Vladimir Putin. Now Putin is going to be there officially at least till 2024. There are all possibilities that he may continue to stay even longer than that one. Only he decides he can leave Russia. Nobody else can make this to happen. He is not. He is not Saddam Hussein, nor he is
Right.
any other leader the way you found in
Yeah.
Libya or anywhere. So if anybody is
Right.
daydreaming that they can do anything to Vladimir Putin, it's perhaps the most foolish thing to imagine. Why I'm giving all this background is to understand that how important it is leadership, national
Right.
interest, a nation, and then what it pursues. For them, Ukraine is very important because till 2014, they had kept quiet. And after that one, it was very important because it gives access to them to the sea, very important places.
Okay.
Now,
Right.
Sevastopol
Right.
is what he took control when he took over Crimea. And we also need to understand Ukraine is a place where most of the nuclear components were tried and tested by the Russians. It's also a very, very important space for that one. So it's a power that they want to. Why are they not trying to do with Poland? Why are they not trying to do with Latvia? Why they are not going to do with Estonia, Lithuania? He's not interested in any of this. He's
Right.
not even trying to do in Belarus. When Belarus was going through a crisis, probably he could have just taken over, or he could have tried something like this, and he could have got rid of Lukashenko. But he
Yes.
supported Lukashenko and he said, "You continue there. You be there. You take care of your country."
Mhm.
Now, the point of reference here is that most of them have missed out. They're just trying to see him as an expansionist and aggressor. If he wants to do, he
Right.
can try get back all the former states of the Soviet Union. He is not doing that one. He is specifically worried about Ukraine, and he is specifically interested about the resources that former Soviet Union had, through which the Soviet Union had expanded its power. And Ukraine is a powerful space that it needs to be augmented well by the Russians. Now,
Right.
for Vladimir Putin, this is very, very important that he gets hold of this. This is one part of it.
Mm.
Second is also statistics is open to anyone. Anybody can cross verify because we shouldn't be speaking emotionally, nor we should be reacting to a scenario. We should speak statistics. We should
Yes.
accept, or we should keep it open for anybody to test. Since
Exactly.
2014, more than 14,000 people have been killed. And those of them who were sympathizers of Russia have been targeted and killed by the Ukrainian forces. Because there are
Oh.
two republics. One republic is in the favor of Russian component, the Russian origin people. The other one is the Ukrainian origin group.
Right. Okay.
Zelensky, those trying to put up a baby face and trying to make it to look like everything is democratic, everything is absolutely great, is not so.
Okay.
Those of us who have been following some of these components, I've said time and again in my classes that don't underestimate Russia. Second, don't mess up unnecessarily. So he's
Right.
trying to give sort of an impression that he always wanted a dialogue, but he was kept 30 meters away by Putin. Putin doesn't trust him. Putin wants to destroy Ukraine. It is not so. Time and
Okay.
again, Putin has very clearly said,
Yeah. True.
demilitarize, don't go close to NATO. Now, what NATO has done is a gross violation of what it has accepted for a very, very long time, that it will keep its sphere of influence to where it has been. So it will not come until the borders of Russia.
Yes.
So now for them coming till Ukraine or trying to help out Ukraine and trying to do anything like that would go against the national interest of
Okay.
Russia. And Russia has very
Right.
clearly said. Now, there is also a reference that every now and then Putin makes is the neo-Nazi component. He's also trying to talk about many
Yeah.
other things. What he is simply trying to tell is allow those people who want to leave from the Russian origin peacefully the way they want to. You shouldn't be bothered about and don't unnecessarily target them. This message went down drastically because it's not been reported. This is
Oh.
So Putin is very clear that first you demilitarize, second stop going too close to NATO because Zelensky
Oh.
has been trying to pursue because he sees the American leadership as weak.
Okay.
Trump supporting Russia and he's saying whatever Putin is doing is acceptable,
Right.
right? This is
Correct.
important for us for the simple reason because Trump would not budge to Zelensky's or any other leader's request with regard to this one. He
Right.
knows the strategic outcomes of trying to do something with Russia. Now, Zelensky thinks that the American leadership is weak, and this is the right time
Okay.
that he needs to push his his component of joining the NATO. Now, with that happening, and Putin analyzing this one, this started in the spring of 2021. He has been preparing for that, and he understood that now they will try doing something like this. This is one side of the story. Second side of the story is that when they are making so much of hue and cry, since 2014, why the NATO did not accept Ukraine as a member till now? Why it has not admitted them till date? And now why are they
Right, right.
supplying weapons secretly? Why are they doing this proxy business? They have no answer to this one.
Exactly.
So just because Russians don't use English media, Putin doesn't speak in English, or they don't put up propaganda material, we are trying to target
Yeah.
using all sorts of groups that have targeted even India.
Yeah.
Right now,
Very
this
true.
is
Very true.
what is expected. So here points are very, very clear to your first part of the question, that anything that goes against the national interest of Russia,
Perspective.
that would be
Right.
resisted. Here, NATO trying to expand beyond and trying to do a proxy with regard to Ukraine, directly hurting the interest of Russia, is the problem, and they need to stop this one. Third, the Ukrainian government has to stop persecuting the Russian origin people, and
Okay.
it should try bringing peace and allow people to have their self-determination. This is point number three. Point number four is the second part of your question, that on what grounds will Russia stop this war?
Yeah.
That's the
Right.
$1 million
Yeah.
question.
Right.
Now, Zelensky is missing since last evening. Zelensky is not
Right.
found. Nobody knows where he is. He
Yes.
used to
Right.
come on social media, do all sorts of drama. Now we are not
Yeah.
able to see Zelensky around. Nobody knows where he is,
Very
whereas he has fled the country, because till now he was using human shield. Most of them actually also left out this part. He was using human shield, asking people to take up weapons. As a Democrat, how will you tell or ask people to take up weapons, and trying to put up a face to rest of the world that our children are in danger, our women are in danger, and trying to put up the human shield? They're not bombing any of the human localities.
right.
You are
Right.
trying to fix them up by trying to show a tanker there, or trying to show some other group there,
Exactly.
and this has happened.
Yeah.
There is nothing called absolute precision guided attack, even with the United States. How many people have been killed by the United States in the name of they hitting Taliban in
Everybody knows.
Afghanistan?
Yeah.
How much ever you
Syria.
say
Yeah.
precise, there is nothing called precise in war. It can happen in all sorts of places. They have done so. Accusing only the Russians that they are killing, what do you say, innocent civilians or citizens, is a false notion that they are trying
Right.
to spread.
Right.
Now, if Zelensky is serious about it, if he comes in along with other leaders who tried to negotiate, whether it was the French component or the German component who had come, who called it as a Minsk agreement between 2014 to 15, if these people come again make a request saying that one, okay, these things pointed, they will stop, it will happen. You can't unilaterally ask Russians to stop it,
Right.
right? This is the problem that we are able to see, that the Europeans don't have an absolute face here. It is their folly. They have unnecessarily propped up Zelensky to provoke by trying to push the ante, trying to attack the Russian origin people, and
Right.
trying to do everything against the national interest of Russia. That's why I said, why he did not take over Belarus when there was
Exactly.
Belarus, when there was a possibility to take over. Why is not taking those three small states of the former Soviet Union, Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia?
Yes.
Right? Let's say Poland is powerful.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Poland can cover up with the United States and all these things. Why is he not trying to take this one? So trying to paint someone as an aggressor and make it to look like as if every day his business is to take over territory and he is a butcherer, or he's some sort of a sadistic person, does not go well with that much. At least I
Right.
can tell you, as a student of international relations, it's not a fair way of doing, just because the
Right.
English print media or English that it will be
Correct.
defeated, it will not sustain. Point of reference, India. I think India has taken a very, very nuanced stand, trying to be with
Yeah.
be neutral in this case, because it knows not all that has come from the West, the way it has been projected by some of the very, very powerful media houses, is truth.
Thank you, Dr. Nanda Kishor. You brought in a lot of angles. The weak politics, weak leadership of US, and the hidden agenda of the US and the NATO, which is not being discussed in the English media, which is really sad. And everybody is trying to paint a black and white picture. And you have clearly said that it's not like that. I mean, there are a lot of angles. Here, I would like to bring in an other perspective, the oil politics. Germany was very much ready to get into a deal over the Nord Stream 2 with Russia. UK was the same. UK was ready to get dependent on Russia's oil. Now, the Nord Stream 2, the politics of Nord Stream 2 and the oil being separate from Russia, do you think the European countries can afford not to have Russian oil? And what is the role of oil and the US interests in stopping this Nord Stream 2 or the supply of Russian oil to Europe? Can really Europe afford that?
No, see, this is another misnomer that the United States is creating,
Okay.
which will end up boomeranging on them. The United States will do this one. Now they have forced some of the nations to, and everybody is trying to milk the situation. This is geopolitics of oil. Now, Saudi Arabia and few others, knowing that they have a good relation with Russia, but yet they have tried doing this one because they think this is a potential scenario for them to gain again access to some of the
Exactly.
European countries and the market in a big way.
Yes.
How is
Yes.
it? How
Yes.
is this happening? This is very
Yeah.
interesting. When India was to buy oil from or constantly buying this one from Iran, you know
Yeah.
how Trump stopped us to do, and
Yes.
subsequently
Yes.
United States wanted to be filling that gap and want to do this one. In
Exactly.
this one, the
True.
losers were some of the West Asian nations or the Middle Eastern nations.
Right.
Now, one person's crisis is another person's opportunity. So now they're seeing this crisis of imposing sanctions on some of these people or Russia, Russian gas companies, and all these things will be an opportunity for some of these states, including that of Saudi Arabia. That's first part. Second part is also having known how United States abruptly leaves the scenario or takes U-turns in many occasions. Now that at least the Europeans have to learn some sort of a lesson, not to get or not to believe what the Americans are telling, that if we stop the Russian oil supply, there will be somebody else to replace that one. It is not going to be one. You may get
Right.
supply. That's the first part.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
will they be allowed to supply? Second part that we need to understand. Will they be allowed to supply is what I am insisting here, that the Russians are capable of disrupting any oil supply. Now, the Russians will not keep it just because you are trying to
Exactly.
cut their supply off, you're trying to cut their supply lines. They're not going to just keep quiet and watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Just few years ago, one leader who suddenly thinks that he is a neo-Ottoman ruler or he is going to relieve that one is Tayyip Erdogan. Now, Erdogan put
Yeah.
down or
Right. Khalifa.
got a Russian aircraft shot, and in less than a month, Putin showed him that who's the
Who
boss
was?
by supporting the Kurdish groups, and all across Turkey there were bombings and other things, and then Erdogan had to run at the end of the month, had to run back to Putin. So
Right.
first part is what everybody is trying to concentrate, that what if they cut the Russian oil supply, then somebody else will replace, United States will replace, somebody else will
Exactly.
replace. But what they're
Exactly.
not able to understand is the second part, will the Russians allow others to supply? Will they leave anybody to just come into their market and supply? In a local market
Right.
nearby me and you, when
Mm.
he is supplying vegetable and suddenly if he's cut off and somebody from outside starts doing that one, will you keep quiet? And we are talking about
Right.
Russia here. If a vegetable supplier
Right.
doesn't allow this one to happen, you're talking about a
Exactly.
country that has held for this long, that he is going to disrupt. He knows his ways to do this one. So he's way powerful that to do. Practically also, none of the European states should be or should be falling into that trap of the United States by thinking that they will cut the oil supply, then geopolitically Russia will be isolated or anything of that sort. Perhaps the most foolish move that they will do, which they will regret. Mark my words, they will
Okay.
regret
Okay.
for whatever that they are going to take such type of decision. So it's not going to happen. And that's the reason
Okay.
even the United States, which said we will impose sanctions on the oil supply and other things, had to bow down. And then immediately Biden had to change his statement saying that, oh, okay, we're not doing that part, we're doing something else. They tried way back in 2014, they tried controlling them through the SWIFT component. Then the
Right.
Russians came
Right.
up with their own system of transfer. Absolutely, it's just a message component. Now
Mm.
today they have 300 million plus groups, and there are more than 400 plus companies that are
Okay.
directly using this. So
Okay.
sanctions have boomeranged. Sanctions have boomeranged in the past. They will continue to boomerang. India is one of the examples. Iran is another example, because when you put sanctions and test the people's metal, people may come out with the best.
Exactly.
So I'm pretty sure about it that the Europeans will their sense back and then get back to normalcy, and then they say that we better believe someone who's a devil and who's known devil than an unknown hero
Unknown
or
devil.
unknown angel,
Okay.
that is the United States.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Nanda Kishor. That was, and that cleared the doubts on the oil politics. Now, I want to kind of come closer home. There's a lot of debate about how India should respond. Uh, you know, with towards Russia, or India stand on the war. Now, the fundamental question is: we have seen how India, abstained from voting against the resolutions in the UN. So, has the Russia's war in Ukraine undermined the strategic choices available to India? I ask this because we keep hearing that India is dependent on, Russian defense supplies, and we have a history of good ties, defense ties. So, in your opinion, what should be the way ahead in terms of India's own strategic choices if more countries start taking sides? Dr.
I
Manish.
don't think those of them who are arguing that front have known history well. That's my first take.
Okay.
Because just because a crowd comes together, two wrongs don't make one right. This is very important. Number of countries which have taken side, they may not know the politics behind, they may not know the real geopolitics, and they neither know the ramifications of the politics they're trying to play here. Right? So that is something that we need to understand first. Second component is also every sovereign nation has its own way of thinking and has its own pros and cons. And it also has a history to which it tries to look at and try to learn from. For us, probably 1971 is the point of departure.
Okay.
1971, we tried doing something strategic that was associated with East Pakistan, that's the creation of Bangladesh.
Right.
And that day, the United States had taken sides with Pakistan, and it had threatened that it will
Exactly.
destroy or it will try invading us, anything that we try doing with East Pakistan. It is only after India went for a friendship treaty and then the Russians started getting involved or the Soviet Union started getting involved, the Americans backed off.
Right.
Okay. And there has
Correct.
not been an instance so far, unlike the United States, where Russians have threatened us directly or indirectly that they will destroy us or they will interfere or they will trouble or they will invade a war on us. This has not been in the history. There have been signs where they have seen probably what if they go close with Pakistan, what if there is a triangle that is made between Russia, Pakistan, and China. All these
Right.
things have been
Yes.
spoken by scholars. Whenever they went
Yeah.
out of topics for some time, there was nothing important happening, though they wanted some sort of a topic. So they came up with some scholar wrote about whatever this triangle. But specifically looking, the Russians have not troubled India. Neither Russians have signaled at any point of time that they are going to do something like this and trouble us. To cement that part, India has already entered into a defense understanding, that is the S-400, where we have
Yes.
stood our
Yeah.
ground. We did not get scared the way others did. And when the United States threatened or they tried telling we will impose sanctions and all this thing, nothing has happened. They did this to Turkey. They're not doing something to India. This is another important part that we need to understand. Now, from India's state perspective, if India has so much of influence where India can ask Russia to stop bombing or stop a war for 6 hours just because it wants to evacuate people, why would a country
Evacuate it.
want to mess up with someone like Russia? When we know when they are capable of disturbing your peace also by using your enemy. Why would you want to do that one? And we have that much of respect. The Russians are reactionary. We need to understand this. They are reactionary to an extent where they have removed flags of many other countries and they've
Yeah,
left out India's that way because they still see that the Indians are trying to allow this to be that they want to deal with them. So we need to understand from a strategic perspective point of view, we are not directly party to something. We really don't know what is brewing there. Neither we have taken Ukraine side, nor we have taken this way. The problem here is most of the countries have taken sides of Ukraine. How much do they know the politics that has gone behind? How much do they know what has gone wrong?
right,
Right.
right,
There is always, every country, you will always have, especially if you are a democratic nation, there are all possibilities that people get divided. You can't unite people on all occasions. There are these possibilities. You have the liberal school probably, which might be thinking that India is spineless or anything. Absolutely not. India knows its history well, and then India also knows what are the type of strategic outcomes that are going to come. Will just India taking side? This is also another thing that I'm saying. These many
okay,
countries have taken,
right,
few have abstained, and few have said no to voting at all. Okay. Now let's imagine a scenario where India goes ahead and takes side
right.
against Russia. What will be the outcome? Will Russia stop it? No. Even if China takes a side, Russia is not going to stop. Knowing this individual, brutal leader like Hitler, all of you came together and bombing and tried
Right.
destroying. No, don't even dream of trying to do that one. It's a nuclear state. So when it's a nuclear state, all of you coming together and trying to attack is out of bound, is out of question. So even if India takes the side, now see, neither India has taken the side of Russia nor it has taken side of
Yeah,
Ukraine. It has tried
right,
to be neutral. Now,
right,
trying to be neutral is that we are not telling you are right or you are right. As long as I'm not taking side and I'm saying someone is right, you can't accuse me. Right. And we are not talking about now suddenly people may say, okay, India is watching on the other cases. Everywhere it is talking about the rule based world order. Why is it not asking about it? Did rule based world order push you to Libya? Did rule based world
exactly.
order push you to
Yeah,
Iraq? Did rule
right,
based world order take you to
very,
several other places? And what did you do in Afghanistan? Before I say that there is
great.
a fly in
Yes,
your plate, I need to look at there is a rat in my plate.
my
So
people,
rule
yeah,
based world order has been a misnomer to the United States and a lot of these Western countries. They themselves get involved. Do we mean to say
yeah,
France has not been doing anything? France has been messing up with Madagascar, but Madagascar is a small
yes,
nation. Nothing comes greatly out of politics. That's why we know the president of Madagascar ran away and he was in exile and trying to ask for what you say asylum status in several other countries because you tried messing up with them. In which way Germany is less? In which way which country is less? Everybody does according to their national interest. So all those states which have taken side of Ukraine are really trying to show the ethical side of them, saying that one, how is that India most of the time asks for a rule-based world order and now it's not asking for. Before that one, have you in your past followed the rule-based world order? When even you did not, India stood that one. Have you stood by India at that point of time? Becomes a point of reference here. So India has not taken side of Russia. India has not taken side of Ukraine also. I've tried
true,
being neutral. Let the countries be neutral. Those of them who are capable of, let them go and face it. Let them try doing whatever they want to. Because by taking a side, Ukraine will not come to your rescue. Let's be very
right,
clear. Let's be black and white with regard to, let's be pragmatic. Tomorrow you get
okay,
into a
yeah,
soup, Ukraine is not going to come and save you. On the other hand, just because somebody is might, that does not mean they are right. That is with regard to Russia. That's why neither I'm accusing nor I'm joining. I'm trying to be neutral because
yeah,
I'm aware of the capability of Russia and what it can do, what it cannot do.
exactly,
This
yeah,
war will go for a while, then it will stop.
yeah,
After that one, who will come to India's rescue? Will you go back and tell,
exactly.
see, that day with regard to Ukraine, I came and sided with you. Now all of you come together and save me. I'm pretty sure they
No,
will end up going with Pakistan only. We have seen this
exactly.
one. We have seen how
Yeah,
European Union has
yes,
behaved.
yes.
We have
The
also
US,
seen how the United States will flip the coin
yeah,
when it requires. So we are trying to be
true,
pragmatic
very,
about it. And I don't think India should be apologetic about it. And India I think, is well guided by its own intuition, by its history, and by an amount of unlimited pragmatism. Let me put it that way. So it's
Yeah.
guided well, and the people who are taking these decisions are perhaps the smartest as of now. Otherwise, I think foolishly we would have taken side. And we know when we can't even
Right.
do
Right.
anything to a small state like Sri Lanka by trying to vote in its
Exactly.
favor, or sorry, vote against it in
Again.
UNHRC, we know what is the outcome. And you're trying to talk about Russia. You vote against Russia, and then you want to see what will be the outcome. This is like the dog was a dog was going on the road and you hit a stone, and then you
Yeah.
were expecting a reaction to allow it to go.
Yes.
It's not going to listen to you, neither it's going to hurt you. Now you're basically
Yeah.
trying to throw a stone and then expecting that it will not hurt you. It's going on its own road, and it will also stop by itself. Let the people resolve, let them sort it out.
Mm.
Everybody has expressed their concerns, everybody has shown whatever they require. Now it is their business. Let them deal with it. He's not going to take over Ukraine. Let us be very clear about it. He's not going to
Okay.
take over
Okay.
Ukraine, which he himself has reiterated time and again. And why are we trying to make it to look like Ukraine will be pocketed, Ukraine will be taken over, and after
Yeah.
that one it will
Yes.
be others?
That's the
This is what
narrative being
Zelensky is
built.
trying to do.
True.
Tomorrow Poland, day after tomorrow others. I'm openly saying from the beginning, had he wanted, Belarus was going through a
Going to take a
panic
long back.
scenario, he could have just taken over. There will not be any
Right.
amount of resistance by any of these states. They may say, okay, fine, okay, these three states that you mentioned, Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia are NATO members, so they will invoke Article 5. That's why Russia is keeping quiet. That's okay. But then nothing stopped him to do something to Belarus. So nothing
Exactly.
stopped him to do for many others. There would have not been resistance. I'm telling you, nothing NATO
True.
can do against Russia. No, all of these people are essentially trying to play around. That is only time. Perhaps he asked the nuclear command to get ready. That's as a deterrence. If
Okay.
NATO wants
Right.
to mess up, I'm ready to do. You are talking about a nuclear state that has 5,000 plus weapons. It's not some ordinary
True.
nation. We need to be pragmatic about it.
Right.
And Russians are not everyday troublemakers. They're not
True.
trying to mess up with everyone on every occasion. In fact, if there is an amount of sanity, or if there is an amount of decency that has come to the United States, thanks to Russians, I'm telling you. They're only scared of them, not
Okay.
India, not
Okay.
China, not
Right.
anybody
Yeah.
else. That's a bitter truth of international politics that every scholar and a student of international relations first has to digest rather than getting emotional. We need to be, as scholars, objective.
Okay.
We need to be
Okay.
pragmatic, and we need to be
Yes.
understanding what are the outcomes. Why is something happening? Why were we
Mm.
silent of when the 14,000 people got killed? When
Right.
suddenly now we are talking about, where I saw a reporter from the BBC or a reporter from C4 or someone asking, what
Mm.
about that girl, that innocent girl they were asking the Minister of Russia? He said, you're not trying to be like a reporter, but you're trying to talk like you are doing a show with me. Right? People need to know their business well. People need to be objective. People need to be reporting what is expected of them. I think it's the English media propaganda that's been trying to put
Exactly.
down
Right.
the Russians, but Russians also have a say, and Russians have a right to defend themselves, and the Russians have their national interest, which is primordial. Today or tomorrow, that is not going to change.
Yeah. That's wonderfully put, Dr. Nanda Kishor. I mean, you have brought out the importance of Indian foreign policy and its pragmatic approach, especially in this scenario. We have covered a lot of ground, but finally, I want to end with this, question which is on many people's mind. Um, I don't know if I can call it as a, India trying to balance between Russia and the West. Um, I mean, if I can call this as a non-aligned approach, not exactly in the Nehruvian terms of non-aligned movement, but still a kind of a non-aligned approach. How long, given the changing world order, uh, rapidly changing on the emergence of China, how long can India kind of maintain this balance? And do you see, as an analyst, like, is there a tipping point when India would be forced to make a choice, whether it's going towards, the Russia bloc or something, if I can call that, or given its participation in Quad, will it be forced to take a side? Now, as I know, India is balancing very well. As you said, India has been very pragmatic. But is there a tipping point you see in the future, if not in the near future, somewhere where it's a tipping point and you say India has to make a choice? Dr. Nanda Kishor.
Uh, with at least the minimum understanding I have on the leadership and the type of people who are in the helm of affairs, I really don't see this happening. The
Okay.
second part is, had the American leadership been very, very powerful, upfront, and then clear
Okay.
about it, perhaps
Mm.
that was the only part, or that was the only in the world can India juncture. Nobody else is neither capable nor they have the capacity to do so.
Okay.
But the American leadership
Right.
itself is not inspiring. American leadership itself is on the fault line. So it expecting India to do something like that is out of
Mm.
order. Now,
Mm.
what can happen here is I come up with the third point of it, where you are asking that
Mm.
India will it be able to balance this tight rope? I don't think India is trying to balance here, but rather trying to be just curious and just trying
Okay.
to be
Okay.
more open to the options available. I see a much more pragmatic approach here, where unlike the United States,
Okay.
unlike any other power, India might be asked to negotiate. India might be seen as a potential
Okay.
negotiator, and India may even come to a situation where it can simply ask Putin, why not? Let's stop somewhere.
Okay. Oh, great.
You can't tell him stop
It's a
it,
great point.
but you can
Yeah.
always tell him, why can't we, or why can't you? Probably the leadership there has realized, and things are out of control now, that I don't think there is any amount of resistance that they will show against you. I think you have proved your point and you have achieved objectives, rather than that you can stop it here. Because what happens is, those involved in a
Right.
war, or those who involved in a campaign, it's very difficult for them to say where they have to stop,
Right.
you know. And if there are others who are simply or unnecessarily fueling them, they may go a little more overboard. So for me, India can play this positive part, where it can simply tell Vladimir Putin, I think objectives of war, or objectives of you entering into Ukraine has been fulfilled. I think you have taken the demilitarization part, and then stopping the persecution of the Russian origin people, and then also NATO not trying to overact or trying to do anything against your interest can be,
Okay.
are all these have been achieved. I think you can stop
Right.
it now. I think that is another level of role that I see for India,
Right.
for the
Okay.
stature that it has now, the amount of respect it has with regard to
Okay.
Russia or the Russian leadership, perhaps nobody else has. Let us be very, very clear, because though Chinese are there, but Chinese are largely seen as a problematic one, because Russia and China share border, whereas that is not the
Right.
case with regard to India. And
Mm.
now I think Putin sees Narendra Modi as a very matured leader, Narendra Modi as someone who can still pull off something like this. So I see a different role, unlike others where we may find it difficult and then we may take side. That's not going to happen. But I rather see the other side, where India may end up having a word, or Indian Prime Minister may end up having word with Putin, may, and say, brother, stop this. I think you have done what you are expected to, and you have achieved what your strategic objectives that you wanted to. Give them peace, allow them to rest now. That's what he may say, and that might be a possibility. That's where I see India,
Okay.
not at the level where it will give up on where it started and then it will side, or it will end up taking to happen. That too, especially with regard to Russia. I think it's an asymmetry that we need to understand here. There is Ukraine, there is Russia. Had it been, let's say, Russia and France, Russia and Germany, Russia and the United States, those are a possibility.
Okay.
But here, massive asymmetry we are able to see, and due to which I don't think India will back off, or India will take back its own position that it has taken so far, and it says now, no, 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 what Russia is doing is wrong. I'm joining the other side. Now I want a rule-based world order. I think it will be a face-off, because Indian scholars are waiting to pounce and say, look at India's strategic imbalance. Now, how India has changed its position. India has no clarity in its foreign policy, failure of foreign policy. And I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
that the
Right.
leadership is
Right.
aware of these type of outcomes.
Okay.
Even before they took the decision, they have weighed all these options. It is always like this. When India takes a position, they say this is a strategic blunder. We should not have taken a stand against Russia. When you don't take position, they will say you have not taken a position. There don't seems to be a spine in India's foreign policy. You have always have
Exactly.
both the camps to doing this one. So
Okay.
India has to take some stand at some point of time, because though I keep invoking this one, not everybody might be an intellectual, but not all intellectuals have a business to
Yeah.
do. And let those
Right.
people in the business, they know what they're trying to do. I think let them do the business. I think we have scholar diplomats, we have scholar ministers. They are doing good job. They have been in the
Okay.
business for a much longer time. How much ever I climb from the academic side, there
Hmm.
are people who have been well versed, who have known both sides on the theory and the practice. So they are more, if you look at, they are masters of the praxis. So they know what they are doing. I think till then, to me and you, it's an avenue to discuss, avenue to take forward debates and discussions, and then we
Right.
can go ahead with. But India, to
Yeah.
me, I don't see, at least, maybe I may stand corrected in later stage, but that also I will humbly accept. But to my understanding, at least whatever minimal experience that I have, India will not take the side where it will say Russia is wrong. Neither it will take side of Russia and say Ukraine is or the West is wrong. India will continue to be the same. I think that is the safest
Yeah.
bet I see as of now at this juncture.
That's Dr. Nandakishore, you have no, raised the hopes and also kind of reassured in terms of the pragmatic Indian foreign policy. And thanks for that. So, in conclusion, I mean, it was a great discussion. We have covered a lot of questions, right from Putin's intentions to Indian foreign policy. And if I can summarize for our viewers, benefit of viewers, uh, several key points which you made was Ukraine is not the holy cow as it is being painted. There are no black and whites in this war. The hypocrisy of the so-called rules-based world order, and India's strategic autonomy and its pragmatic foreign policy and its role in the coming future. So that was a great discussion. Thank you, Dr. Nandakishore. So we
Yeah,
wish,
the idea is very simple.
yeah,
People should not just get moved by the shoutings, emotional outbursts. They will never be able to analyze. The logic behind this discussion was to stay calm, stay pragmatic, discuss the real
uh,
issues, so that those of them who
okay,
are really interested to
exactly,
understand this issue,
yeah,
they'll have to
right,
go through this one. Otherwise, you'll only see charged way scenario where you see a newscaster showing in the backdrop
emotional,
that he himself is as if he is there in Kiev, or he is there in one of the cities, and there is a
yeah,
bombing is happening
right,
just behind him. I think we will never be able
true,
to get the
true.
real picture of it.
Yes, that's very true. Yeah, we keep saying that, especially in the era of the social media, we keep seeing that such kind of opinions and takes every day. So,
True, true, true.
thanks a lot, Dr. Nandakishore, and we really would love to speak to you again. Thank you.
My pleasure, Prashantji. Thank you so much. Take care.